Falsely thoughts, race, life's a twisted place. No time to erase.
Christian Boston, what's good with you?
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm all right.
Oh, awesome. So we're gonna agree on some things. We're gonna disagree on other things because, as a Marxist, Leninist, and
Hmm.
Stalinist, I take different positions on different things based on, how I look at it.
Sure.
So for the first one, I think social democracy and capitalism are basically the same thing. I think it's all Trotskyism, and Trotskyism is a very dangerous ideology because it keeps an oligarchical power structure
Hmm.
in place.
Okay. Here's the thing. When I advocate for social democracy, I know a lot of Marxists are not gonna like it, but the reason why I do is because I don't believe, honestly, that the world is, or even our society is not ready for that yet. So that's the only reason why I say, like, let's get them to agree to social democracy first, and then we can go ahead and move them more to the left into socialism, and then into Marxism. Does that make sense to you?
Right, but socialism is through the electoral process. Communism is more of a last resort when workers are strained.
Say that one more time.
Socialism is actually through the electoral process. You can
Hmm.
run socialism through the electoral process. Communism is like the Bolshevik revolution that happened in Russia in 1913. That is whenever workers are at a last resort
Hmm.
and they have to overthrow a system.
Okay, yeah, I could agree with that. But what would you say that what I say is like untrue? That you do you think that people are ready to do that yet, or we actually have to get their minds prepared for it? In my opinion, I think social democracy does get their mind prepared for it. But if you think it doesn't, like, let me know why.
Well, people are already tired of the oligarchies that exist in America, the working class. And look, the working class, let's be honest, they voted for Donald Trump.
Hmm.
That is because the working class is angry. And they have a right to be angry. They're angry at a system that they know hates them. And so the best way of doing that is to talk to working class people, to get them onto the class consciousness, get them away from right wing demagoguery, and just get on a good path towards a socialist society.
Right, I agree with you, but like the reason why like you brought up an actual good point of why I say I don't think they're ready for it yet, because like the working class voted for Donald Trump, right? But Donald Trump is literally part of the oligarchy. Yeah, I mean they voted for a person who's gonna make things worse for them. It's just that he has the right demagoguery to give them someone to blame. Basically, he doesn't say blame people in his class. He says blame the immigrants or the black people or the trans people. You see what I mean? So is like that's why I'm always say when this last election actually solidified in my mind that these people are not ready for Marxism yet. You know what I'm saying? Because if you talk to the working class right now, they would say that someone like yourself is completely buffoon or like a completely like nuts, and they think that Kamala Harris is on your side when she clearly isn't. She's like a neoliberal. You see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I get that. And yet, neoliberal capitalism is responsible for Trump. Is more responsible for Trump than the working class that went and voted for him.
Right.
And so what we have to do is we can't just flat out say to working class people, "Hey, let me introduce you to Marxism." They have it in their minds that Marxism is something else. That
Right.
it, it's they think it's a bunch of, you know, a bunch of perverts with autogynephilia pretending to be transgender going into the women's restroom and creeping women out. That's what they think Marxism is. Uh,
Exactly.
and what we have to educate the workers on is we have to also change our language and how we communicate with workers, speak on their economic level, and tell them that the system actually does hate them. The corporations hate them. The liberal bourgeoisie, the conservative bourgeoisie, they hate you. They hate all of us. It doesn't matter your race, what your gender is, who you go to bed with at night. They hate you because you are a worker, because you are expendable to them. That is why, and you know, I'm not going to demagogue any illegal immigrants. Those people are being exploited by capitalists as well. And so, you know, we can't be mad at them. We got to be mad at the capitalists because the capitalists are shipping in these folks from their home countries after destroying them through imperialism and then bring them up here so that they can suppress the wages of the working class and break the backs of the labor unions.
Right, exactly. That I'll point this out as well. I've always said that the reason why illegal immigrants are even here in the first place is because of capitalist imperialism. Like, don't be mad at people trying to live their lives because they're trying to do the same thing you're doing. Like, literally, you know what I mean, trying to live a better life for themselves, and you can't be mad at them for that. You see what I mean? So, like, I think we definitely agree. It's just that once I saw that the working class actually voted for the class that is completely against them, that's when I was like, okay, they're not ready for this yet. You know what I mean? And we do have to speak to their economic reality. I agree with you there, which is what I think social democracy does more. You know, telling them that, hey, instead of dealing with, you know, a healthcare company that's going to turn you down at the last minute when you need your life-saving surgery, we can have this system right here, and we already have it in place, like Medicare for all. We already have Medicare for all. Just open it up to everybody. Would you agree to that? I think you will find a lot of people in those rural white working class areas, like in Arkansas or whatever, that would say that, yeah, I will open Medicare for all. Like, in my opinion, if Bernie ran in 2016, we would have had all this already. You see what I mean? Because, like, he was actually speaking to their realities. You see, does that make sense?
Yes, but the oligarchy did not want Bernie Sanders as president. They would have much rather had Trump. Even though there are things that Trump does and says that they hate, that doesn't mean that he's against the oligarchy. That just means that he's not the typical puppet. He goes off script too much.
Right, exactly. So yeah, exactly. I agree with that. That's really the issue there. He is the oligarchy. It's just that he doesn't speak like one. You know what I mean? All the way, he doesn't speak like one. So it's not, he doesn't represent himself as one, even though he sits on a golden toilet. So it's just one of those things. That's why I do agree with you that social democracy is still basically, like, quote unquote, nicer capitalism, because it just has a broader welfare state, more worker protections, and universal health care, things like that. But eventually we're going to have to get rid of the private ownership of the means of production. I do agree with you there. It's just that when I see how, you know, folks are working today, I'm not sure if they're ready to go there yet. You know what I mean? Because just like how you said, they think Marxism is just creepy guys going into the bathroom, and they're trans people or something like that. They don't even know what trans is. You see what I'm saying? So it's like it's one of those things. I said we gotta talk to them, you know, in a way that they'll understand first, and then we can get them to, you know, understand the rest. It is incrementalism, which I know a lot of Marxists are against. They're against incrementalism, but it's like that's kind of our reality at the moment. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with that. It's just like this. People are at desperation. If they're going for a right wing demagogue like Trump, there's always a worse right wing demagogue than Trump that will exist, and he's going to be more competent and more like able to do.
JD Vance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't agree that JD Vance is that guy. I think Ron DeSantis is that guy.
Oh yeah. DeSantis is
That's
definitely that guy. DeSantis
yeah.
is definitely that guy, because I live in Florida, so he's definitely that guy. You
Yeah.
might give me 1 second, Bob. Give me 1 second.
I live in Florida myself, over in St. Pete.
Yeah, I'm in Central as well. I'm in the Longwood area. Average grad. I'm gonna bring you up next, okay? Because I know you have a lot to say about Marxism. I've spoken to him before. He has a lot to say about Marxism. So, but yeah, I think we agree. But the only reason why I know you disagree with that people aren't ready yet, but the only reason why I've said so is because I saw how attached they were to Trump, and I'm like, are they? If me and you were to go out there and say that, hey, yeah, let's go ahead and do the Marxism, America has been brainwashed so much by the Red Scare. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if they'll accept that yet. We have to give the workers more rights, and then we can talk to them about, hey, we don't need the capitalist class. You see how we're running this better? We don't need that class, so let's go ahead and get rid of them. You see what I'm saying? I think, but what do you think? How do you think that we can get them away from, excuse me, the demagoguery, and implement this, like, excuse me, next week if we can. I know, because I know Americans are sick of it. They're sick of it. I mean, of course, you're right. Like, we agree there. It's just that the language they don't understand yet. So what do you think
Yeah.
that we do about that?
Well, we talk to their economic language. We say, hey, man, you feel like your wages are being suppressed? Why don't we start some labor unions? Why don't we start putting pressure on, say, Donald Trump, because his labor secretary supports the PRO Act? Let's put some pressure as workers onto the presidency and get Donald Trump to do something more in a union direction. Scare him with the working class, and show him that, like, if you do not do as we say, something, we are going to be outside the White House every single day.
Oh,
Yeah.
give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
So I am impressed that Trump did put a pro-union labor secretary into the labor department.
Right.
So that is I can give him kudos. I can give him credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I could give him props for that. I definitely I could give him props for that. Um, is I do think that labor unions need to be more out there, and I think that's where
Especially here
you
in
know
Florida, my friend.
say that again.
Especially here in Florida, we do.
Especially here in Florida. Yeah, especially here in Florida. And yeah, and I do think I think that's where Kamala blundered. You know what I'm saying, by not speaking more to the unions. They did do okay. I do like what they were on the side of UAW and everything like that. But I do think, like, during the campaign, like, she could have done much better at communicating to the unions, because a lot of union workers voted for Trump. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah, Teamsters did an internal polling. So over 60% of them supported Trump. And
right,
yeah, I do want to get back to, like, some of these points though, where I'm going to disagree with you. If that's
sure,
okay.
sure,
Okay. So as for legal and safe access to abortion, I'm on. I think, like, for me, I support bodily autonomy, no matter what. It's just like I felt like that the pro-choice activists, who, want their abortion access, and I want their access too, weren't standing up for the workers who didn't want to get the COVID jab. I felt like bodily autonomy was supposed to be a universal concept, but, I do agree with legal and safe access to abortions, but I really like them rare, personally, because I don't really care for the act of getting an abortion, but I do think it should be, available. I believe more in systemic classism than systemic racism. And defund the police. I mean, I believe in demilitarizing the police, getting rid of the private prison industry, and trying to get some of these, like, non-violent, victimless crimes, like, repealed.
right. That's what defunding the police and abolishing the prison industry would be, basically, like getting those type of laws repealed, because that's all part of the industry to, like, basically lock people up, mostly black people, for slave labor, essentially. The 13th Amendment needs to be completely rewritten, in my opinion, as well, because,
Yeah, I agree
like,
with that. That is a stupid loophole that the Democrats at the time got it put in.
right, right. So
Yeah.
that we need to completely rewrite that.
Well, What's
We're
crazy? What's crazy is that the people who do more slave labor through the private prison industry are Democrats,
exactly.
and that's crazy. That's why I'm not, like, I don't believe the party switched. I just believe the parties became the same exact thing.
Yeah, the parties basically, like, when the switch was basically superficial. They just say different things now, but they're essentially mostly the same. You know what I mean? But as far as when it came to COVID, and people refusing to take it. Me, I was still on your body, your choice type of person. Like you didn't have to take it. The only thing I've always said is that if you're not going to get vaccinated for like a good reason. If you're not going to get vaccinated, you know what I'm saying? Like, for example, that you're immunocompromised or anything like that. But if you're going to talk about, I'm not going to get vaccinated because I saw Nicki Minaj tweet out that her cousin balls blew up, to a tennis ball, then you're just being ridiculous at that point. You know what I'm saying? Or if you have literally no reason, all the conspiracies are stupid. You know the vaccine is safe. You know all that, but you're just refusing just to refuse. At that point, I'm like, what is? I mean, your body, your choice, but it's like at the end of the day, you're what do you? I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand it. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're just kind of being like ridiculous. Like
Well, it takes
I don't know.
it takes about 10 years to truly understand the long-term side effects of a vaccine. So in the mRNA, I was getting opinions. I looked at Dr. Malone's opinion. I looked at Anthony Fauci's opinion, and I was taking the best professional medical opinion that I thought was better for me.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you're taking medical opinions, then fine. Just make sure that it's backed up, that it's studied, and everything like that. Okay, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't mind. But during this time, people were just spreading misinformation. I mean, even still to this day, like if a person has a heart attack or dies, unfortunately, which happens to a lot of athletes, it was happening before COVID. But now, after COVID, people are still saying that it's the vaccine that did it, and there's just no evidence of that. You see what I'm saying? So it's
Well,
that's the problem I'm having.
it definitely needs to be tested. Like I really like, and the problem with it is that a lot of these like vaccine makers, they get liability protection through the law, and the government gives them that liability protection. And then they don't do true double-blind, peer-reviewed studies on these things before they release it to market because it takes a while just for them to understand even the short-term side effects of something.
The thing is, when it comes to mRNA, we've been like, I think folks like kind of forget how far technology goes. You see what I'm saying? Like in 50 years, we went from the Wright brothers to the moon. You see what I'm saying? So it's like when it comes to stuff like technology and mRNA, we truly on the general public, we don't know how fast this could get tested, or how much it was tested in the years, because mRNA has been researched for like decades now. So they could have been known like what the effects are and everything like that, and they're putting it out there. And I could agree with you that it could have been communicated better, but I don't think it's like for us to claim that it's never been tested. We've
Well,
been researching mRNA for years now. You see what I mean?
well, the problem is like we have to look at who's making that vaccine. And who is it? It's the pharmaceutical industry. It's big pharma. They just got the government grifted them a bunch of money from the U.S. taxpayer out of the Treasury Department during the first outbreak of the COVID pandemic. They were sending billions of dollars to the pharmaceutical industry, the airline industry, all these big mega corporations. And of course, they had a debate about sending people just $1,200 checks. Of course, you can't do that. Socialism is bad, but it's just like it's just a never-ending concern that the pharmaceutical industry is always up to no good.
Yeah. The when it comes to the pharmaceutical industry, like I get the skepticism. I really do. I don't like for they cause the opioid epidemic. So it's not like I don't. I put 100% trust in the pharmaceutical industry. You see what I mean? But like at the end of the day, like a lot of the R&D for the medications that we take, life-saving medications, things like insulin and stuff like that, it does come from the pharmaceutical industry. Like, Billy Bob in his backyard is not making insulin. You see what I'm saying? It's coming from Pfizer and people like that. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, at the end of the day, like I understand, like we need to do more antitrust stuff with them. We need to investigate them a lot more. They need to be regulated. I 100% agree with that, but I don't agree with throwing the baby out with the bathwater, if that makes sense.
Well, I understand that concept. I'm not like saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are a lot of vaccines out there that do good, like polio vaccine, like these things have been tested for quite some time. I think that the issue is that the COVID jab was very rushed in such a short amount of time, and that a lot of people, I do think that the immunocompromised and the elderly, the people who and the morbidly obese, the people who could get really hurt from that virus should have been vaccinated. They should get vaccinated. But like for healthy people who go out, exercise every day, take their vitamins, and just like try to live a healthy lifestyle, I think that I don't think that those people were necessarily good for the jab.
Yeah, I kind of just fundamentally disagree with that because the more like they could have said we could have said the same thing for smallpox. You know what I'm saying? Like the more people who are vaccinated, we get herd immunity from that. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So even if you were like, for example, when I was in the military, we all had to take flu shots, like all of us, every single year. There hasn't been 1 year of my life that I ever caught the flu. I have never caught the flu at all. But the military still makes us all take flu shots because like the more of us who have it, those that are more susceptible to getting the flu will be less likely to get it because we're vaccinated. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, like when people say like healthy people don't need it, like we don't live on islands. You know what I'm saying? We live in, I hate to say this, but we live in a society. You see what I mean? The more of us that are protected, the more of us are protected. Yeah, you see what I mean? So it's like if half the population is not getting it because I feel healthy, that still leaves probably like a third of the population that's susceptible to getting it from them. See what I mean by that?
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm going to move on another topic if that's okay. I want to get through to this so your other guy can get on. Um,
Yeah, no problem.
on
Because I
the
think he want to talk to you anyway.
okay,
Hey guys,
on
how's
the
it going?
hey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
No, as for there is no gay agenda. I'm on the fence
Can
about.
I'm sorry. Can you say rainbow? Because last time when we kept on using that word, they took me down for some reason. I got bananaed and banned. I know it's crazy. TikTok has they don't want us to use that phrase. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But like sorry y'all, we have to use rainbow instead of GAY because TikTok for some reason just doesn't like it. They think that you're insulting people. But I'm
Well,
sorry. Go ahead.
it's a Chinese company. They're pretty much like against all that stuff, even though they're communist.
Yeah, yeah, that's a crazy part. But yeah, you say you're on the
Yeah.
fence about there being a rainbow agenda. Like, why is that?
So, the one issue that I have is that, I'm not against teaching young adults, like kids, like teenagers, at least people who are at least going pubescence when they're trying to discover themselves. I'm not against teaching sex education or gender, anything about, well, I'd say sex education, just to say that. That's the X education. I'm not against teaching like an 11-year-old who's just really discovering that they're what they're attracted to. What I'm against is the teaching of kindergartners, first graders, second graders, third graders about gender and sex education. I think that that needs to be the basic reading, writing, and arithmetic, and then the sex education should be a side class that you teach young, preteens.
Let me ask this. I'm not sure if you remember, but do you remember at what age you knew that you were a boy and there were girls around?
I don't, man. I mean, I had. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I was a young kid, I went through some gender confusion myself.
Cool. Okay,
So
so
I have a lot of empathy for the trans community because I've gone through that. I've had that disconnect with myself. I grew out of it. I think that the issue I have is, putting young children on puberty blockers until like they some have convinced me to wait till like 16 or 17, and I was like saying, well, I'm just against the whole putting puberty blockers and kids on medication for the rest of their lives. Let the kid dress how they want. Let if a boy wants to wear girls clothing, let him do it and go by she her. If a little girl wants to dress up like a boy, like a tomboy, let her do it. It's just let them figure themselves out without introducing medication to them.
understood. All right, so this is what I would say. when it comes to oh, by the way, Avenged Underground, like you're still teacupped. Under Avenged Undergrad, you're still teacupped. If you stay on there for too long, TikTok will kick you out. So just be
Okay.
careful of that. All right. So what I was gonna say, Boston, is that I do understand the concern, right? But one thing that I recognize something is that I knew what boys and girls were by the time I was like 7, 8 years old. On average, I think there is a study on that. On average, kids know what boy and girls are by like 8 years old. You see what I'm saying? So like teaching them gender, I don't think it's too much of a problem. But the thing is, I think what people are so concerned about is teaching them like woohoo time. Yeah, I mean, we just got to call it that because TikTok language. But teaching them about, I think at that age, you're not going to teach them what woohoo time is. You're just going to teach them what their body parts are. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that's not age appropriate. That is age appropriate to teach them exactly what their body parts are and to like remind them that no one is supposed to be touching that area without their
Right.
consent. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think that's something the education system needs to take care of. I think parents need to actually be part of that education process with their kids
But they don't do it.
because it is a little, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little weird whenever the state and the school system is trying to do that. It's off-putting. It's very off-putting, and I just think it's better to rely on the parents to basically teach them about gender and teach them about who they are as individuals. And if a kid feels gender dysphoric, I always say, like, let the kid just, that's how they want, you know.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, Boston, but this is the issue that I'm having. When kids actually, there's actually a psychologist in the chat, and she'll tell you as well. When kids actually know these things, they're actually a lot safer because they can actually, when they know these things, they're actually less likely to be abused because they can actually describe what happened to them. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think it was a
Yeah.
study that was made in like down under in Australia that kids who knew what those body parts were, they were able to describe in detail what happened to them, and kids who couldn't do that. And the people who were PDF files, the one who were bad with children, a lot of them would probably get away with it because the kids didn't know how to describe what happened to them. You see what I'm saying? So if we actually teach these kids, these are what your body parts are, it makes them safer and empowered because they know what their body parts are and they can explain what's going on with them. And offenders, people who are bad with children, they're less likely to target those children because those children are informed. You know what I'm saying? That'll be the first thing. But the second thing is that you brought up that we should depend on the parents. I'm sorry, bro, but a lot of these parents are just they suck. They're just not good parents. You see what I'm saying? Like you'll be
That's
surprised when I lived in
beauty.
Texas. I lived in Texas around the time I was 11, 12 years old. There were still kids who thought that babies came from the stork. You know what I'm saying? And at 12 years old, that's a problem. You feel me? So like I get it that we would like to depend on the parents, but the state wouldn't be involved, schools wouldn't be involved if these parents did their job and they're not doing it.
Well, these parents are doing their job. They're raising their children. And the problem is like the, the two-parent household is not like being able to stay set. The capitalists in the 70s wanted women to get out of the house and away from raising their kids. Now they can't even raise their own kids and teach them because women are working and men are working at the same time. I think we need to encourage, uh, we need to actually have an economic situation in place where only one income can actually supply for an entire family.
Um, okay. So you want women to get back in the house? I don't know. That's not. I don't think that's very progressive.
I, I told you I'm a Marxist, Leninist, Stalinist. I'm not a progressive.
Wait, so Marxist Leninists are about the traditional conservatism?
They're about traditional families, getting to the cultural roots of who they are.
Okay,
That's
well,
all.
the traditional families is basically mom, dad, uncles, grandmothers, and extended families. Well, at least in the African sense. I'm not sure about everybody else.
Well, I usually just say the two-parent household because two women can raise a child, two men can raise a child, a trans woman and a man can raise a child. Anybody can raise children.
Oh, just a two parent household. Okay, I got you. I got you. Yeah, I got you. A two parent household. But like in my ancestors' tradition, the traditional house was the parents and the extended family and the people around them. That was the traditional household. That's why when people say like traditional household or whatever, I'm always like, which one? Because there are a lot of people who have different forms of traditional households. You see what I'm saying?
Right, right. Yeah, I understand that because there are different cultures in the U.S. where because we are a melting pot culture. So like one culture like this, one culture is like that. Some cultures are even communal.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
Like my culture is
guys were
communal. You know, yeah, my culture is very very communal. All right. So did you want to move on to anything else, or do you want to talk to average undergrad now at the point?
just one more thing. Um, woke. Um, I believe in Dr. King's version of woke. Alertness to social, racial, and economic injustice. But the DEI stuff coming out of BlackRock, I am not a fan of that stuff. Like,
What's
I feel like
DEI?
that's heavily authoritarian.
What exactly is DEI?
It's the diversity, equity, inclusion directives coming from BlackRock. This is where like they do DEI like racial like. You ever watch Matt Walsh's "What Is a Racist"? Am I racist?
Matt Walsh is a moron. I'm not gonna watch that guy. But
But
when the question I'm asking is like I know what DEI stands for. What I'm asking is what actually is it?
okay, so Robin DiAngelo, you know who she is?
Yeah. What about her?
She's a bourgeois elitist, and so is Ibram X. Kendi. They are a bunch of race grifters who basically say the remedy for past discrimination is current discrimination. That white fragility, basically, she's telling white working class people that they're the problem. They're the reason why racism is here, instead of looking at the economic situation and the people that they work for, and the people that they protect, and the power structures that they defend.
Are you saying that the white working class doesn't have a race problem? Because they do.
Oh, I don't think they have a race problem now.
Really?
How
What
so?
happens? What happens? You know what sundown towns are, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, dude, yeah. That
Yeah,
yes, 100%. Those still exist.
exactly. Yeah, and we live in a state with sundown towns. Like I can't go to Christmas or Bithlo. You know what I'm
Heard,
saying?
heard.
So like those are full of white working class people. So to say the white working class doesn't have a race problem, I think is kind of ridiculous. They clearly
I'm
do.
not. Well, I'm no. I'm not saying that the majority of the working class has a race problem. There are still sundown towns. Well, actually, you know what? I have noticed that liberals are pretty racist too. So
Yeah,
it's
they are.
yeah. So you know what? Yeah, you're probably right. White liberals are pretty racist, especially whenever the black working class and the Latino working class doesn't do anything they want. And it's just or doesn't do as the white liberals say, and then yeah,
But
I guess you're right.
I think what my issue is that you said that you believe in the MLK version of woke. That's the only version of woke that exists. The people who have been saying woke, they have no idea what it means. You can even ask them what does it mean, and they don't know. You see what I'm saying? So
Whatever
woke
makes you
for the term woke for conservatives is basically just black people or progressive policies that I don't like. Like
what
for
whatever.
example, whenever like there's a media piece that has a black person in it, they'll just call it woke. You know what I'm saying? Or a trans person or a gay person in it, they'll call it woke. It's completely ridiculous. Like they don't know what woke means. Woke only means what you brought up, the awareness of racial injustice. So like there is no other version of that. The version that conservatives are using is just a dog whistle for black people.
No, I think the one that they're using is the DEI directives that are coming out of BlackRock.
But again, what exactly is it? What is DEI? Because DEI, yeah, it stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. But what does it actually do? What actually is it? Because there's a DEI person
Okay, so
who works in DEI in the chat, and she'll actually tell you it's just a policy to increase diversity in the workplace and to bring more diverse ideas into the workplace. That's all it is. How's that a bad thing?
well, actually, it diversifies. It only diversifies the bourgeoisie. It doesn't actually upend the bourgeoisie by the proletariat taking control. So
Do
the
you think
bourgeois.
everything is a conspiracy from the bourgeoisie?
But
I mean,
but the thing is though the idea of DEI has nothing to do with the bourgeoisie. It's about introducing
Well,
people into diverse ideas. That's all it is. What is
what
like if you introduce people into diverse ideas, the bourgeoisie doesn't even want that. The bourgeoisie wants the optimal thing to make a profit. That's what they want. They don't care about DEI.
Oh, what? But that's why they invented it. So what they are
No,
really
they
like
didn't.
whenever when
Who
Joe Biden picked his entire cabinet based on skin color and superficial like identity,
but he didn't.
identitarian, like that was all BlackRock directives coming down to him.
Okay, Boston, this is my question. Who did he pick that was not qualified? And he only picked them from this for their skin color.
Oh, Lloyd Austin, definitely.
Lloyd Austin? Who is Lloyd Austin?
Oh, that scumbag sits on the board of Raytheon, or sat on the board of Raytheon prior to getting into the Defense Department, and so he's been profiting off these wars that Biden and them have been starting
Okay,
and instigating.
so he sat on the board of Raytheon, which means that he has some sort of education in either business or military strategy, correct?
He has financial ties to the military-industrial complex.
So does he have some sort of degree in finance or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, so he sits on a board of a company without a degree in finance or business. That's not possible. That doesn't happen.
He was in the military for God knows how long, but he
Right. Okay, so he was in the military. Was he a general or a high-ranking type of official, like a colonel or a captain or
yeah,
anything like that?
he was pretty up there in rank.
So he was like a 3-4 star general.
I believe so. I'm not 100%
Yeah. Oh wait, I know exactly who you're talking about. He was a 4-star general.
Yeah,
That's very qualified, my man. A 4-star
Nothing.
general.
Dude, he profits off war directly. Like, no,
Okay,
that
I understand what you mean. I understand what you mean, but you said that he picked people off their skin color without qualifications. A 4-star
they-
general is very qualified to run the Department of Defense
a
because they're a
warmonger,
general.
a warmonger is not qualified to run the Department of Defense. No, I don't think so.
Okay, so like this is, but Boston, this is the fence we're talking about. Are you going to take someone who's not who has no military experience to run defense?
Well, actually, it's supposed to be under civilian control. So yeah, if somebody does, you don't need to have military experience to actually be a Secretary of Defense.
You don't need to have it, but it's good to have it, correct? Because you're going to be defending the country.
Defending means defending. It doesn't mean going to war all the time.
Right, I understand. There's criticism of the Department of Defense. I understand all that, but what we're talking about is if he was actually qualified to be in this position. The only thing that you're saying is that he was a warmonger. I can be a warmonger and still be part of the Department of Defense. That's not what I'm worried about. What I'm worried about is, does he actually know how to do the job? And a person who's a 4-star general does know how to do that job. They know how to get information. They know how to make defense strategies. They know how to, take out people who are against America. They know how to do this stuff. How is that not qualified? That it makes no sense to me to say that he just picked him because he's a black guy. He's a 4-star general, bro, with a degree in finance. What are we talking about?
Bro, dude, this is exactly it. This is how social democracy is actually props up capitalism. This is just you propping up capitalism, bro.
Based.
All right.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I'm talking about the reality of the situation. All right, cool. He left.